And welcome to Curiosity session where I'm going to teach you how to use a high watermark method for DB compare. So first off, let's go to Test Modeler. So the first thing I'm going to do is check that I have a database scan of the database I want to use, which is TR sample commerce 2016. Perfect. And then the next one I'm going to do is make sure I've got a definition of the database I want to use, which is TR sample commerce 2016. Perfect. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Explorer. Then I'm going to go to the folder that I want to create the data activity in, which is in here. Then I'm going to create a new item, data activity. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it TR compare high watermark 3. Then I'm going to choose the type of data activity we're going to use, which is compare. I'm going to put in a definition, so let's testing high watermark, and it's got to have application. That's fine, and then let's just make sure I spelled that correctly. Perfect. Save. So now I'm going to go into my new data activity. So first off, I'm going to attach the definition that I made sure I had earlier. So if we go to there, TR sample. Perfect. I'm going to make sure I'm choosing the most recent version. I'm going to press OK. So what I've now done is I've added the database definition into our components. Now this will allow us to do the first step of doing a database compare using the high watermark. The first step I need to do is create a configuration list. Now what this will do is it will give us it will automatically generate all the SQL statements, all of the tables, etc. that we need to actually start querying our database and seeing the differences. So I'm just going to go and click this execute button here. Now for this instance, what I want to do is I want to choose this schema. This is the only schema I want to make my comparison in. And I want to actually look at all the tables. So that's why I'm going to select this button here. Then I'm going to press execute. And then there's nothing to do here, so I press execute again. And that's going to be picked off by the VIP server, and it's going to go busy away and create our configuration list. Okay, brilliant. Once that's done, we can go and go back to our data activity using the Activity Explorer. Click on Data Activities and TB compare high watermark version 3. Now what we can see here is this has actually given us a load of different actions that we can do on our data list and our database. So we can run a compare, we can modify the configuration list, we can create a check for new rows only snapshot list, and we're going to remove list activity. Well, first of all, let's have a look at this modify compare configuration list. So if I click that, this will actually take me to a list that I'm using. Now, at the moment, if you've seen our other video, which looks about how to compare a database using a snapshot method, we can see that the statements here with the parse source query and the parse target query are set up for using a snapshot. And in this instance, we'll be using the suffix _snap for there. Now, there are quite a lot of instances where you may not have control over the database to actually create a new schema or actually create a new table as such, and therefore this snapshot method might not be the best use for you. Now there is actually a quicker way that we can do it, where we can just look at the most recently inserted data from before and after, and we can use that using the high watermark. So what we will do is we will go back to our data activity, and then we will run create check for new rows only snapshot list, and we're going to run that. And what that's going to do is that's going to query the database. And so yeah, if I just put my connection profile in, and we want to keep all of this the same, so if we tick execute. So what this is going to do, this is going to go off to our database, and it's actually going to look at the most recent, the highest value in all the primary keys for the tables. So we know what the most recent data in at this point of time is. So perfect, that's run. Now I set up a VIP flow to insert data into there. So if I just go and run this. Okay, perfect. So we can see that 6 rows of data have been generated into our database. Now let's go and see if we can detect it using the high watermark method. So first off, let's go and see the difference in the configuration list. So as you can see, these SQL statements have changed. And we're now using these values here in par high water value of the most recent data inserted. So anything, for instance, if we look at this table, which is country, any countries where the ID is greater than 128, our high watermark will detect. For instance, supplier, again, if we have any values over 14, we'll have a look. Should be able to detect that. Now, if we go and actually look in the database ourselves to make sure that it's actually there, we can actually see we've got rows of data here. So therefore, our high watermark method should be able to detect this this data. So let's go in. Let's go and make sure this works. So data. So let's go back to data activities, activity explorer, data activities here. Now, if we just run this compare here, as it's already set up in the configuration list, it will go off and detect that newly inserted data. As we can see, it has detected the generated data. So if we now go and click the download job result button, we can actually see here that we have this compare results Excel sheet. And here we can see what data has been inserted into each table. So country, we've inserted 1 row. Customer, we've inserted 2. Order item and orders, we've inserted 1. Product, we've inserted 2. And supplier, we've inserted 2. And what we can actually see here is if we go through each single table, it will actually show us the data that we've inserted. As you can see, we can see this data here, this data here. And so what's really useful about this technique is we can actually give a very quick and easy method to detect newly inserted data before and after the process that you want to test.